Today on Unboxing Old Stuff, we're going to do kind of a shorter unboxing video, and we're going to unbox a expansion of Warcraft 2. Hello, and welcome back to the Geek Ball channel. My name is Jim.
I'm Bob.
And today, we're going to unbox a copy of the expansion for Warcraft 2. So, this is not the base game. This is the expansion to the game Warcraft 2. Now, most of you, if you're not as old as we are, probably remember, World of Warcraft, the MMORPG. Yeah, make sure I had the right abbreviation.
Yeah.
This is one of the earlier games in that series. While I don't believe it's really based on any of this, I know some of the story is because this takes place in Azeroth.
Yeah, I mean it's the same setting, and some of the lore comes from these. I think it primarily comes from Warcraft 3.
Now the funny thing is, I couldn't actually find my copy of the original game. All I found was the expansion. But just looking at this box is honestly, besides a little bit of chipping on the edges here and a little bit of ding on some of the corners, this thing's in fantastic shape. The box isn't crushed. It honestly, when I found this in my it was over at my parents' house in the closet, and I'm just like, this is crazy. But on the front, actually, I believe it's the same image that they had on the original game, but obviously it was a blue box versus, and it was the Warcraft 2, the Tides of Darkness was the name for that. And this one here is the Beyond the Dark Portal. So the idea is that this takes place after the humans retake Azeroth. And
drive the orcs back.
They drive the orcs back to the portal, and at the portal, they decide they're going to finish this once and for all, and they go through the portal to defeat the orcs in their own territory. Because I think at the end of the second one, the original game, you destroy the portal, but the portal's still there. So they're like, the only thing we can do is there's something holding it open on the other side, is to go through the other side, and take care of it over there.
So for those of you who don't know, the original games, these are not RPGs. These are like Command and Conquer.
Yeah, real-time strategy.
Real-time strategy games.
Yep.
So it's base building, resource gathering, army building, things like that.
And definitely, if you haven't seen anybody play it, I mean, it's definitely worth Googling. Because this was one of those games that I played on Blizzard's original Battle.net. It was this one and Diablo 2, which I do actually have the Diablo 2 battle chest. At some point I want to go through and just review that as well. But let's just go ahead and see what we've got in here. Now, like I said, this is kind of a lesser unboxing because, honestly, there's not a whole lot in here. But while we're kind of unboxing it,
if you do ever get around to actually buying this and playing it, definitely look up the assorted codes you can put in. I don't remember what it was, but there's one that a very interesting song will come on.
You know what's funny? I told you I couldn't find the copy of Tides of Darkness.
Well,
the manual in here is the manual for Tides of Darkness, so I don't even know if I have the manual for this. I mean, obviously this has been unboxed before, but
it's been in a closet for a very long time.
It has been, so it's still interesting. But yeah, no, this is one of the reasons that they had these giant boxes. For one, is that a lot of the older games, they would have came with floppy disks. So it was normal, they were 5 1/4 floppies. So you'd have that, you'd have the manuals and stuff like that. So these boxes, they had to be larger boxes to contain all that material. The other thing is that they used to put like collectibles in these.
Yeah.
I've got a copy of Return to Zork, and it's got like a medallion in that.
Yeah, I pre-ordered Command and Conquer 2, and I got a figure, like a pewter figure, probably 2 inches tall, I want to say, of a Nod soldier that came with it, and some other stuff. So yeah, to Jim's point, they used to use most of the box space. And I imagine after a certain point, It's also kind of like the old Lego sets. Up until about 5 years ago, had larger boxes than the current boxes, and the whole point was people needed to see roughly how big the set was going to be once it was complete to make them think they were getting their money's worth. And so this, seeing the bigger box, as opposed to just a disc or something, you're thinking there's stuff here. This isn't just, I'm not just buying a disc. I'm getting some other value for my money.
And yeah, and this also gave you more shelf space. It made your game stand out more. And again, because of the blurbs that are on the back, it gave you a little bit easier time reading. And
yeah, because this is from the days gone by where there were shelves full of these things, kind of sideways like books. For those of you who've been in a bookstore, yes, they do still exist. And you would have this instead of like if you go into Walmart right now, there's some discs or there's cards to redeem stuff, and it takes up just a space like, I don't know, probably less than the length of this wall here. One probably 4-foot section, and nothing stands out. This kind of stuff stands out.
So one of the things in the box is a order form, so you can order some additional products. So they had like T-shirts and stuff on the back, but this gives you an idea of how much the base game and the expansion cost. So the base game is listed at $54.95. This is back in the day when you really had to watch it's got the the requirements for the game. There's the original Warcraft was going for $39.95,
and
new for Mac.
As of this printing, it was brand new on the Macintosh, or the Mac as you'd call it now, or Apple or what have you.
And then the expansion was listed at $35.
And then we get down to the knockoff of, the homage to Warhammer 40K, known as StarCraft. There's a whole story there, folks. We'll have to talk about it sometime.
Oh, and then Diablo. There we go. So
Diablo 1.
Yes. So we'll get some up close of those as well. Yeah, and then besides that, the only other thing in the box is the game itself. So it's funny because you've got this giant box, pretty much just to hold a CD in it, and it's very well possible that the entire instruction manual is right here. Yeah, it looks like it because it looks like it's got the story all right here in the CD cover. This is again something that games nowadays are just getting rid of, and I understand it to a point because you can save on printing cost.
Yeah.
But there was something about having a substantial manual with the story and something you can read and view through. Now, they're not in color, unfortunately, but they have great drawings, backgrounds of each of the characters. Yep, and then there's just the game, and honestly, in pretty good shape. You'd only had the game in the CD-ROM drive when you're playing the expansion, but the expansion though, well, I said it added an entire campaign in the realm of the Orcs. What else did it say it added? Added 24 new scenarios and 50 custom maps. So the custom maps would have come in if you were doing online playing.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I remember about playing online on Battle.net is that if somebody was trying to invite you to play on on a map they created, half the time it's because they cheated. All they would do is they would give you like one peasant or peon in a farm, and they would already have like an entire army built, and they would just do that just to be able to bump up their numbers to. I've got how many wins? And it's like, well, yeah, because you cheat. Because like on online play, I don't believe you could use any sort of cheat code or anything like that. But
you would hope not, anyway.
But no, I remember playing this one, Command and Conquer, a couple others, like over dial-up, and
if I can ever find it somewhere, I have a book for Command and Conquer that Chris and I split the cost on. We call it the Command and Conquer Bible because the book is this thick. It explains in intense detail every single mission, how to beat them, but also there's a whole section on the AI and how to beat the AI because it's programmed to do certain things. And once you know how to do that, like winning the game becomes significantly easier because, as a for instance, and I don't know if they took this out in the revision, it will always target the northwestmost building in your compound with like airstrikes and stuff. So just build like cheap like dog houses or guard towers or whatever. It'll target that. Even if there's a critical building right next to it, it'll target that building. So you can just force it just to fire on ridiculous things that cost nothing. And there's a bunch of stuff like that in that book that just tells you how to systematically beat the system that they programmed.
And I remember, maybe not buying this one in particular, but I remember going to, like CompUSA or any of the mini computer stores or Best Buy even when, Best Buy had, a huge game selection like for PCs and such. And I mean, yeah, you had media like, their magazines and TV commercials and stuff like that, but it was, I don't know, it's like I don't get that same feeling about going into, like Walmart now and walking through the video, even going to GameStop, like looking at all the game releases, like I just don't get that feeling anymore of like awe and wonder of looking at the back of the box art because it wasn't all about the graphics. I mean, yeah, the graphics, meant something, but it was more about, did it have, it focused more on the gameplay itself versus just being a, great looking game or whatever. Because a lot of people look at Warcraft 2 and they'd be like, well, this looks okay, but but I think it goes to show why a lot of game manufacturers are kind of going back to retro type games. That's why, like, like your Shovel Knights and stuff like that are becoming popular because people realize that you can have a great playing game that doesn't have to have realistic looking graphics. And
Right. I mean, how many generations of consoles did we have before we even had like we even had clear looking cutscenes of real people for the brief time that we had them, and then CGI that kind of looked like real people. Like we got through several generations of consoles without needing that, and we were highly entertained by them. I mean, like the Super Nintendo, you could probably just play Super Nintendo games from now until the end of time and be content, you know. And that's 16-bit graphics. Like cutscenes are not really cutscenes in that.
and I don't know. I feel like some of the presentation has been lost because now it's like everything's in a static looking, Blu-ray case versus PC games had these giant boxes. Super Nintendo's had your rectangle boxes that laid long ways, while Sega Genesis were in the plastic hard cases, and every one of them stood out in a way. And they didn't just like, they weren't just like a dime a dozen, like, oh, it's just a screenshot from the game. It was a hand drawn image of
Yeah.
something going on.
And there was other material too, like for some of the I had I don't remember what year it was. I want to say it's 87 or 88. I had a Nintendo calendar, and each month it was you had the month, but you had like stuff from the game, and it wasn't just screenshots from the game. Like it was other stuff people actually made, for that calendar related to that game. He had stuff like that, and like your comment earlier about the other media, like the whole reason I was interested in Command and Conquer is because an article I read, and I think it's PC Gamer about it. It was those huge articles, like 20, 10, 20 pages, screenshots from the game, from the cutscenes, talking about how the game worked, the whole concept of a real-time strategy game and everything. And I was like, this game sounds spectacular. I'm going to buy it once it comes out.
And I think that's the one thing lost with like magazine format because again online you only have a brief moment in time to catch someone's attention because unless they're paying for a subscription to that website they're gonna gloss over if it doesn't sound interesting in the first. So for example, one that I can think of is if you've ever seen the copy or the cover for the game Phalanx for this, it's I believe it's uh, a vertical shooter or horizontal shooter, one of the two. I can't remember, but it's for the Super Nintendo. It had nothing to do with a ship flying in it. It had a guy playing a banjo on a porch.
The Mega Man approach to covers of games for the regular Mega Man games, like the first four, I think, or five, where it's just like some guy with a pistol with like neon tropics back behind him that has nothing at all to do with the game.
Yeah, but but the thing is that with a magazine, you've already spent the money for like so. At some point I'm going to go over all just over a selection of my Nintendo powers. I had one in my Virtual Boy video. I'm going to just go over a few of them. But what was great about it is you spent the money on it, so you're like, I'm going to get my money's worth at looking at this thing.
Yeah.
And you were going to look at every single article. You may only glance over it because you're like, well, this one's Barbie. I'm not going to dig too much into that. But the thing is that every single game that they listed in there, you probably have glanced over it, maybe looked at some of the screenshots. And that's how we learned that these are the games that we want. Now, you have to look at a YouTube video, and it's going to be an over-dramatized, on the next Call of Duty, blah, blah, blah,
This game blows away the competition. It's super awesome, or it super sucks.
And it's
There's
just
nothing in between. It's one or the other.
But then you realize that half of those game footage that they show is not even actual footage within the game. It's like a cutscene or something like that.
Kind of like when a movie has a trailer that has all kinds of scenes that aren't in the movie.
So the only way that we had to know to get games was to either read it in a magazine or go into the game store, and this is why the boxes are so huge, because this is their advertising.
Yeah.
And honestly, I never got much into Warcraft 3. I played the original Warcraft before I played Warcraft 2. And it was a huge improvement between the Warcraft and Warcraft 2. Not so much the story. The story was still great in the original Warcraft, but the building mechanics were a little bit different. Like every one of your buildings had to be connected by a road. So it didn't allow you to really expand beyond where your initial settlement started, versus Warcraft 2, you could build everywhere. Because there'd be times that I would sneak up to the enemy encampment and I'd start building a secondary base right there so that I could stock everything up. The other thing that I always did in these during the campaign was I would literally harvest 100% of everything in the thing. I would deforest all of the woods. Every gold mine would be completely purged. If there were oil slicks out in the water, I'd go out there and pump all the oil. Yeah. I'd say that was the way that you had to build the ships. You had to get oil, and you had to get it out of the water. So you had to build like an oil platform, which is funny to think in a medieval setting to have an oil platform.
I was gonna say, I only ever played the second one. I didn't play the first or third one. So,
and just like in Command and Conquer, that always the way that I felt that I had to approach everything was as big of an army as I could send. It was unfortunate that in this one here, unlike Command and Conquer, I believe you could select almost as many units as you could fit in
Command and Conquer, whatever's on the screen, you can select it all at once.
Because this one had a limit of 9.
Yeah.
So you could select 9 characters at a time. So every army I would build would be in a multiple of 9.
But yeah, I favor your strategy for Command and Conquer as well. For me, it's build up the base defenses so that nothing can get through them. And then while they're just uselessly throwing troops at him, I'm harvesting all the Tiberium or everything back behind me, and just building up for the tank surge, and then just roll over their base.
The one thing I always thought was weird on this is that, because in the screenshot they show the transport on it, the transport only held 6, which sucked because you could have a maximum of 9, so you'd have to have extra transports to be transporting things across. But the idea is, like, especially if I had to use the transports, is that I would have my battleships or the orc equivalent just all plow up against the shoreline, bombarding everybody trying to come into it. So you'd have to have the battleships and the I don't know, the cruisers, the destroyers, the light ships, because they could shoot they
could shoot on shore.
Yeah, they all could shoot on shore, but the ones could get like the people trying to come up and chopping up your ships. They would shoot faster than the battleships. The battleships were kind of slow.
So it's been forever since I played Warcraft 2. Did they have an equivalent to the engineer that lets you steal enemy buildings?
No. Right. Unfortunately not, because
that's the other fun thing I like to do in Command and Conquer.
And for the most part, the game was balanced very well. Like every human type of soldier and ship had its equivalent. Everything did, because you had like your Your footman had your orc. Your archer had your troll axe thrower.
And in this one, you buy upgrades for your units, right?
Yes, because you could turn your knights into paladins.
Right.
Because you had to have, because to build a knight, you had to have your barracks, you had to have your a stable, and then you could build your knight. And then if you had I believe a church, you could then upgrade it to be a paladin.
Yeah, because I know in Command and Conquer, I think it's not until the third one that you can do that you buy upgrades for things. Like I think there's a few things that upgrade things automatically, but I think it's not until the third one that you actually can like, oh, now all your guys have like cybernetic legs, they run faster or something, things like that.
Yeah, because you had the blacksmith was one where you could upgrade your weapons. The wood mill, I believe you could upgrade your archers. I believe from that. So, and there was obviously a strategy to it, and like I said, every character had its own. Because you had your griffins, and they had and their comparable was the dragon, and then you had like your gnomish flyer or gnomish glider, which had the goblin equivalent to fly around. But it was it was balanced. So no matter who you picked, you were going to have something very similar on either side, and there wasn't like an advantage to picking one or the other. Minus I always liked playing as the orcs just because I don't know. I thought their stuff looked cooler. And there's a couple of Easter eggs in it, like clicking soldiers, clicking any character over and over again will cause them to start insulting you or complaining or getting mad at you. And weirdly enough, if you keep clicking the sheep or other livestock that's in the game just running around, after a while they explode. No reason, they just explode.
Well, it happens.
But no, when I found this was like just a trip down memory lane. This was my childhood growing up, a lot of it. I know I go on that TIE Fighter was my favorite game for PC, but
oh, hey, this might not be relevant by the time this video gets put up, but that's actually on sale on Steam right now.
Oh,
although all the reviews say you should buy the one from Good Old Games instead, or is it Grand Old Games, whatever GOG is.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a more stable port, because it sounds like you get two versions from Steam, and one like requires a joystick but won't recognize that you have one plugged in, and the other one like the sound doesn't work or something. So
you definitely want the sound, but
yeah.
But the way I look at it is that they were totally two different games. Like I had a couple of Star Wars real-time strategy games, and the ones that I had were really not that great. But
you get Empire at War.
I did have Empire at War. That one was great, but I had
until you introduce the expansion, and corruption just takes over everything. You just your only choice is to just start blowing everything up with the Death Star.
Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like about the expansion. It's like no matter what you could do, you could never stop the corruption. But at some point I'm going to go over. I need to find my copy of TIE Fighter. I don't know if I've got a box for it or not, but if not, I'm going to buy one just because it's definitely one of my, because when I wanted to play a flight simulator game, that was the game I went to, because unlike actual flight simulator, it actually had a story and
lasers.
And like I said, one of the best damn stories in Star Wars, I think, that because they told you from the side of the Empire, where you are part of the Empire and you're just a lonely TIE fighter pilot doing your thing.
Yeah, the guy that you play actually has a canon name in the old EU, and he's in one of the X-Wing books apparently.
He's not the greatest character from a game, Kyle Katarn.
I don't even think I played the game he's in.
Dark Forces?
Yeah, I think I barely played Dark Forces. In case you need another version of how the Rebels got the Death Star plans.
The real way. It's Kyle Katarn. And he becomes a Jedi.
Yeah, he kind of comes, at least in the books I read from the old EU, if he's who I'm thinking of, he kind of comes across as a Mary Sue in some of them. But well, okay. like he seems to like he barely has any training at all, and this is like instantly a Jedi almost, if I'm remembering correctly. And then everyone else has to deal with Exar Kun, his spirit there on Yavin 4. And he just like strolls in there and deals with it like it's nothing. And it's like, let's see, like 2,000-year-old Sith Lord who's infinitely more powerful than you, and you just walk in there and deal with
That's
it.
why I just go.
Okay.
That's why I just go by the video game, the first Dark Forces, where he's just a mercenary badass.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know, like I said, the unboxing portion of this was definitely a little bit on the shorter side, but I mean, honestly, the condition of this, I just like I have to do this, and was kind of first disappointed because I realized that the manual I have is not for this, but it's actually the manual for my original copy. So we'll get some close-up shots of this and a little bit of the
Blizzard catalog.
The Blizzard catalog, so you can see in 1995 what was on sale. So, all right, and here is just a close-up of the box for the Warcraft 2 expansion set. You can see it's in pretty good shape. Heck, I can't even really get it into full shot of camera here as close as I got the set up. Obviously, this is actually during the time, probably shortly after the ESRB, because Mortal Kombat would have been, Mortal Kombat and Night Trap would have been kind of the start of that. So this is very early in the ESRB. This is something that you don't really see anymore in games, is the, what compatibility that it has. Side here, got some screenshots of gameplay. A couple more. Yeah, I remember this particular cutscene, and yeah, this guy's I'm pretty sure about ready to meet his maker at this point. But this is kind of what we were talking about, where they definitely have slacked a little bit in modern games, is actually trying to sell the game on the back of the box. So you've got your screenshots, your cutscenes, so you can see what the cutscenes look like in the actual gameplay. Obviously the blurbs of what you're getting with this expansion. In fact, and this would be comparable to DLC today, because now you buy DLC to get an expansion in your game. Before, you would actually have to buy a physical copy of an expansion for your game. So that is the box. So go over just the CD here real quick, just so you can see what that looks like. So the manual for the expansion is actually all right in the CD cover here. So it does give you some information about some of the changes to the game, and then that looks like it even talks about a patch for some of the stuff, and then a little bit of a story of what happened to get to this point from the original game to the expansion. So this is the actual manual for the original game. So this is the game that you would have to have before you got the expansion. And again, this has a lot of just, a lot of screenshots, a lot of, trying to tell you how to play the game. But what I get into is all the drawings. So you got like the map, and then just, they definitely did not sugarcoat the images in here. So you've got definite story being told of what happened from the first game to the second game. So, and then just each of the characters in the game. So getting just a snippet of all the characters, and they've got one for the human characters, and then one in the back. That would show you all of the orc versions of the characters. So now, just so you can see kind of what was coming out in 1995, this is a manual where or a order form where you could order games from Blizzard. So this would be the original Warcraft game, which again I played this before I played Warcraft 2. And then here's for Warcraft 2, the Tides of Darkness, so the original game. And this is the expansion set, so this is what we actually unboxed. And then here is StarCraft, which Bobby says that we are going to talk about at some point. Game.
The story behind it, anyway.
A game I don't think I've ever played, PAX Imperia 2. I have not heard of that one. And then a game I definitely have heard of and have definitely played, the original Diablo. Though I have more fond memories of Diablo 2 compared to the original. Again, obviously, this was back when the original games and then the sequels definitely improved upon the original games, versus now it's like a lot of times they'll use the exact same engine in the sequel, and it's like, well, let's do an improvement. Let's make things better. And, definitely had it. And there you go if you want to order some Blizzard merch. So
Is the option to pay with a check on there?
Money order.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, can you imagine? I look at this. Can you imagine just writing down your credit card information,
Sending it out there.
sending it out into the ethos? Anyways, that is all that we have for the Warcraft 2 unboxing. So we'll do the outro here.
Take you back to the regular scheduled video.
But anyways, again, thanks for joining us on another unboxing old stuff. This is the part where you do all the normal YouTube-y stuff, the likes, comments, shares, and subscribes. And definitely leave in the comments if there's any PC games that you remember kind of playing and were real big and keen on, because I'd like to see what you guys are, what you're into, and it can even be newer stuff. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, I mean, if you're younger and you haven't played stuff from the '90s, don't worry about it. Let us know what you're playing now. Because we're always on the lookout for new games. So.
All right. Well, anyways, I guess we'll see you beyond the dark portal, and see you on the next video.
Just watch out for those tides of darkness.